We are excited to speak with Dr. Pam McCaskill today. She's a clinical psychologist and owner of McCaskill Family Services with a team of therapists who work with children, teens, and families serving Brighton, Plymouth, and surrounding areas. Let's talk about what you've been up to and how to handle how the world is affecting mental health right now. Welcome, Dr. Pam McCaskill.
Hi, thank you so much. It's so good to
Thank
see you.
you. Oh my God, it's so good to see you too.
Yeah, I really appreciate this opportunity. And I was excited just to feel like I'm sitting here having coffee with you. So,
Oh,
like our old days of going to coffee shops, and I think
yeah.
it might have been one of the first times. It was probably years ago that I came across you and your passion for helping kids and families in our community. And I can't remember how many years ago it was, but I remember meeting with you and going, oh my gosh, this woman has got the passion, enthusiasm, and energy to actually do this. Like you were just kind of putting your ideas out there, and you have such a magnetic energy. I was like, okay, I just want to spend more time with you. And
Oh gosh.
this was like
That's such a
before
nice thing to
your
say. Oh my
breakthrough.
gosh. Because I
So
always look back and I think, oh my gosh, I was so obnoxious. Just, this is what we're going to do. We have to do this. We have to do this. But you were so good to me because I didn't know business. And you were so great about helping me with that. Like, I remember you taking my brochure and going, no, this has to be, a trifold. And you need to speak to this person. You need to talk to everyone. And I didn't know that. So I'm so grateful for everything you did to help me.
yeah, well, I mean, I'm a psychologist, and so I have no business training, but I learned all the business stuff on my own. And I think having people around you that you can bounce ideas off of that have like the same mission. And I keep going back to that passion. I mean, you've just got it. I mean, look what you've created there. Like it has been amazing what has transformed. And COVID kind of interrupted things for a few months, but like it's just a temporary pause from your dream and your vision. And
Mm-hmm.
it's so needed in our community. Like it's a gift to be around you and
Oh my
to listen
gosh.
to our
Thank
staff.
you.
And yeah, no, I genuinely mean that.
Oh, thank you.
There's very few people like you in this world, and I'm happy to have you in my backyard. So
Oh, thank you. I feel the same. And I have to say, we've had a lot of God moments. We've just had the most amazing people step into our lives, including you. And that's how this happened, So thank you for being part of our tribe.
oh, absolutely, I appreciate it too as well. So
Well, let's get some background knowledge so everyone else knows. How did you come into this career of yours?
um so when you asked me to kind of do this talk, I figured that there might be some kind of personal questions and stuff, and I thought, you know what, I'm just gonna not prepare and just sort
I
of
love that.
talk a little bit about probably things that people don't know about me, or even about how all this started. But when I realized the seed was planted for me to be a psychologist and helping people with special needs and other challenges. When I was quite young, actually, I had a family member who struggled immensely in school, and the system just kept teaching him in the way that the system taught him, and he was getting more and more frustrated, extremely smart, and my family did not have any money. Like I was raised with very, very little means. And I remember getting my first job when I was 11, mowing lawns, to put into this little bank that we had on the kitchen counter to pay for an evaluation for him.
Oh my
And
gosh.
it was expensive. Even at that time, evaluations aren't cheap. And we saved up money as a family because my mom was like, something's going on. We got to take him to a psychologist and figure out where the glitch is, because he's really smart, but he's failing in school and failing socially, and, just getting yelled at more and more and more. And we saved up the money, and they brought him into a psychologist. And I still actually have the report to this day. The psychologist completely missed it. And at that time, there probably wasn't as many resources for psychologists as there are today. So I don't want to, go back and say, oh my gosh, 40 years ago. But
Right.
they told my parents, you just got to be harder on them, get them to be a man, get them to be a boy, kind of knock it out of them. And that's what my dad did.
Oh my gosh.
And, I think with better guidance and now the knowledge that we have 40 years later in our profession, that kind of stuff is hopefully not happening. And it's kind of drives me every day
Right.
for every child that comes in. We do a lot of neuropsych evaluations and follow through and stuff is every person that comes into our practice is that family member.
Right.
And I think you can really change the course of things through knowledge and understanding and patience and guidance and really, top of the line education with this stuff. So that's kind of where it all started. And then I went kind of lost track a little bit, got into med school, was becoming a pediatrician because I love kids, and decided that I wanted my own family and I didn't want to be on call all the time. So switched over to become a pediatric psychologist, which I thought would offer me a little bit more home life balance.
Does it?
Now I'm a businesswoman, so
yeah, right.
That went out the door, but
right.
I keep trying for that. At least I'm not on call, all night long and stuff like some pediatricians are. So
yeah, I hope you tell that story to everyone that works for you, because that is just, it's so personal, and look what could happen.
Yeah, I mean, it's early intervention and early identification and changing the course of things really can truly make a difference. Now I've been doing this for 25 years, so I'm seeing the children that we evaluated at age 4, 5, 6, 7, and where they have ended up because of knowledge and proper intervention. So it's kind of cool in my career now to see like, it actually can work.
Yeah, I always say to everyone, we're not selling cars here. We're dealing with people. I mean, we have to get this right.
Exactly.
So I love that. Can you tell everyone what services you do provide?
So we're a pretty comprehensive practice. There's 15 of us now. And so we treat all members of the family. I mean, when I started out as a child psychologist, I realized, oh my gosh, there's parents that are struggling and siblings that are struggling and grandparents that are struggling and couples, marriages that are falling apart. And so we have specialists that treat people all across the lifespan. We integrate a lot of testing and assessment and neuropsych services to help guide us as kind of like a bit of a roadmap as to where treatment should go, instead of just saying, everybody needs therapy. Therapy is great. I don't, everybody could benefit from it, but I don't know everybody needs it. And so we have other things like assistive technology training and some groups that we run, and we've added equine therapy. So that's,
I want to talk about that too.
So, we keep adding as the needs arise, so that it's a more comprehensive approach. We go out to schools and do some advocacy work. So we try to make it a little bit of a one-stop shopping so that we can meet the needs of the entire family, and they don't have to be too disjointed.
Do you still have your executive functioning group or therapy?
Yes. Yeah. We do a lot of work with that.
I think that's huge. And I think that a lot of our people can identify with that need. Can you tell us what that is exactly?
So we have, there's a couple of options that we offer. One is we offer individualized coaching for executive functioning. So the psychologist, instead of just a one session per week, which may or may not be the best fit, can do like Zoom in, basically check-in sessions, 15 minutes, 3 times a week, and just help with goal setting and accountability. And there's not necessarily like a whole week that goes by. And then we also do skills-based training and executive functionings, because what we want to make sure is that it's not a skill deficit. Oftentimes we find that it's not a skill deficit, but an application of that skill.
Okay.
So we want to make sure that before we say, oh, they can't do it, we have to make sure they have the skills to actually practice doing it. So we do some
Right.
training with that.
You know what I was thinking before I asked you that question? Maybe we should tell everyone what executive functioning is. Maybe if people don't know.
Yeah, no, for sure. So
Right?
executive functioning is one of those kind of fancy words, but it basically is like the gatekeeper of your brain. So it occurs in the prefrontal cortex right here, and it kind of takes in information and decides what to do with it. Like, is it important to store it in memory? Is it important to use it right now? How do we use that information to function in the moment? So attention and focus of attention is kind of guided by that area of the brain. So even right now I'm using executive functioning because I'm staring at a computer screen, which is my least favorite thing to do.
I know, me too.
It's like,
Yeah.
I'd rather,
Yeah.
So I'm hearing, something from outside, or I'm hearing things maybe out in the hallway, and my executive functioning system is pushing that stuff away so that I can focus on what I'm saying and what I'm doing right here. So it's constantly at work. And if there's a weakness in that area, it can make it really, really challenging for kids, and getting through the day without that system in place.
I see that a lot of our kids, our young adults that have autism, they're on the spectrum. I see so many of them either having ADHD or OCD. Are you seeing the same thing?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And that's, those are the symptoms that we work really well with. Just trying to manage some of that so that, they can function to the best of their ability.
Right. I know that my youngest son has autism, and I think sometimes that the ADD is worse than the autism.
Really?
He can't because he can't get anything done. I feel so awful for him. I mean, he's focused and he's doing it, and then, like you said, it's like, oh, I hear this, I'm going to go do this now. Oh, or he'll walk around with his deodorant in his hand and go, I can't find my deodorant anywhere, and I'll go, it's in your hand. It's bad.
Yeah, that sounds like me some days, but I think the operative word is some days and not all days, and that's where the struggle comes in. It's the kind of the bright shiny object syndrome, we call it here. Like, anything kind of captures and grabs their attention, and how hard it is to be productive and get things done.
Can we talk a little bit about the frontal lobe with people with attention deficit disorders? That does mature. I don't know, what, like 25 or so.
Yeah. So the frontal lobe, it becomes almost fully matured at age 25. We start to rely on it right around the time that kids hit 6th grade.
Okay.
So in elementary school, we are compensating for the development of that prefrontal cortex, and where the executive functioning and ADHD occurs, by a lot more hand-holding and reminders, and the teachers are kind of working with the students, and the parents are working closely. And then right around 6th grade is when that area of the brain starts to kind of take over and start maturing. And so our educational systems are aware of that, and they start to put more responsibility on the student. And that's sometimes the challenges of middle school. And so middle school hits, and the first few months are hard for almost all of them, because they're learning to use a part of their brain that's just more recently developed. But if there's a glitch in that area, those students start to fall behind right around that time. And many children with autism or ADHD or OCD are very bright intellectually, so they can compensate, but there's an end game to that. Eventually their intelligence does not help them to compensate. And oftentimes by the time they get to high school and beyond, it's causing some real struggles. And then we start to see other problems like depression, anxiety, behavioral problems,
Low
school.
self-esteem.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I know for myself, and I share this with everyone, that I have ADD. And when I was in high school, especially, I would look around thinking, how everyone's getting this but me. But I faked it. I pretended I got it, and my grades were horrible. So my classmates didn't know that. But I want to say right around 25, just life got better. I could retain things. I could remember things. It was still hard. I was more mature, so I knew when I was in class, you sit in the front row so that you're constantly focused on that person. I drank coffee. That helped me a lot. So, but I just feel so bad for our young adults that they're going through this, because you think there's something not right with you.
Right. And oftentimes by the time, you're in your mid 20s, you might even be past some of the, I sometimes call it harsh structure of the system trying to fit you into a certain mold of learning, and you learn what works for you. And you're also, hopefully driving some of your passion. And so when students with executive functioning struggles or ADHD, when they find something that they're really interested in, the exciting part of that is that they hyper focus on it, which can be a little OCD, but it's interesting that you share that, because that's what I saw in you. I didn't see it as a weakness. Really? I see it as a gift. Like that's passion that drives living and learning forward. So
and now it is. Now that I'm older, it is a gift, because it allows me to. I'm really good at being able to do a lot of things.
Yeah,
it's harder for me to just focus on that one thing. I'm really good at that. So I like to tell young adults that too, that it is a gift. You just have to know how to hone it. Yeah.
It doesn't feel like a gift when you're growing up, though.
No, it does not. It does not.
Yeah.
So you were talking about your equestrian therapy. I just think this is so. I love it, and it's just I've never heard it until you told me about it. Can you explain that?
Yeah, so we a couple of years ago we teamed up with we have a location out in Brighton as well as here in the Plymouth Northville area, and we teamed up with the Brighton Equestrian Club to offer what they call equine assisted therapy, and it's basically using horses to help humans in whatever their struggle is. And we have found incredible success with that program. So there's, a subset of people that don't really respond well to the office therapy. Some of our teens and our high functioning people with autism, like sometimes sitting in an office in a space like this doesn't really just frankly doesn't work. We can't get anywhere,
maybe it's too clinical or
so being out at the equestrian center, we're actually able to use the horse, who has a sixth sense of these kind of struggles, to help them experience what it is we're talking about. So we might do things like, this is the zone where you're paying attention, and watch what the horse does when you're paying attention to that horse. The horse acts in a certain way versus when you're not focused and when you're not attending. And a lot of our kids have never experienced that zone. They hear us talking about it, but they've never gone, oh, that's what it feels like to be focused, or that's what it feels like to not be anxious or worried about something, or that's what it's like, that kind of sweet spot that we look for in calmness or comfort. The horse helps us to do that so that they can get to that spot. So now they know what we're talking about when we say, hey, now's the time to focus on your schoolwork, or now's the time to relax yourself and get into a calm state. Prior to the equine therapy, they don't even fully get what we're saying. So it's been really powerful.
I remember you told me a long time ago about this story about this. I think it was a young man you were working with, and it was a horse that was a lot more wild. And he was able to get this horse to control or something. He was able to control the horse. And you said something about this must be like how my mom and dad feel when they're trying to get me. It was really, oh my gosh.
Yeah. and it was that insight that changed the course of things for him.
Yeah.
It happened during one of our teen boy groups. We run small groups, teen boy groups, teen girl groups, and we also run some adult mindfulness groups and adult stress management groups, because we realize that the parents are oftentimes maybe even struggling as much, if not more,
Oh yeah.
than
Oh
their
yeah.
children.
Hmm.
So we started doing that, but that happened in one of our teen boy groups where he was like, wait a minute. I
Hmm.
wonder if this is how it feels when my mom is like yelling at me because I'm yelling at this horse right now and the
It's
horse
not
is
listening.
not going anywhere.
I love that. I
Yeah.
love that. I love it when they figure it out for themselves too. It's so powerful.
Oh my gosh, it's such a great moment to experience with somebody.
If someone wanted to enroll their child or young adult into equestrian therapy, how would they do that?
They can just call our office. So we're set up to do individual sessions. During the quarantine or COVID time, we've actually we have been able to work out there, and we've been doing family sessions where the whole family comes out, because there's just been a lot of families struggling with conflict and staying home together in
Yeah.
the same
Yeah.
space. And we've been able to do family-based sessions because we don't have to social distance the family. So
Hmm.
they've been able to work on cohesiveness and communication and getting along better, and that's been super powerful. So anybody can just call our office. We can let you know what groups are running. Our groups are all updated on the website as well, so we try to keep everything updated as to what we're currently offering group-wise.
Okay.
But individual sessions or family sessions are available.
Okay. And we'll make sure to put all your information, on this as well.
You're so
Um,
sweet.
no, yeah, absolutely. Well, it helps everyone. But speaking of COVID, what are you seeing mental health wise? Are you seeing a lot more people suffering right now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate, and even in our small community here, there is a mental health crisis, and what started out as kind of stress reactions to everything sort of falling apart in the matter of 24 hours,
Hmm.
and the
Hmm.
demands of job loss and the demands of the parents being at home trying to educate their children, maintain their own jobs and their own sanity, teens being socially isolated from their peers at a time when that's extremely important,
Hmm.
has really caused. I'm noticing now it's not just stress reactions. We're dealing with more severe clinical depression, more severe anxiety. We have agoraphobics, which is a
Hmm.
condition where people won't leave their homes. So, we're even talking about maybe treatment interventions of having to go out to the home to even get them to take a step outside, onto
Right. Oh my
the floor.
gosh.
They've just become so fearful.
Oh gosh.
We've got an increase in domestic violence in the homes, and also teens and depression and suicide stuff. Actually, we're seeing a rise in that. So that's really been unfortunate. I'm kind of seeing it on one of two extremes. There's been people that have really benefited from this time of slowing life down
Hmm.
and not being so overscheduled and over busy.
Hmm.
And our kids with social anxiety are loving it. They're like,
Yeah.
why isn't
Right.
the world doing this all the time? Because
Right.
this is like, this
Yeah.
is awesome.
Yeah.
But there's certainly a lot of people struggling.
What do you see, or what can you predict, long term, how COVID might affect us with the mental health?
I think this is going to go on for a while. So, the anxiety of all of this, and there's quite a few people that have experienced some pretty severe trauma in all of this, and some pretty intense grief. And
Yeah.
so the aftermath of that, I think, and healing, and then just navigating the world in a new space,
Yeah.
is going to be challenging for a lot of people. And so I think mental health services are going to be even more necessary to be available to people than before.
It's good. That part's good.
Yeah.
How has it affected you personally?
Um,
Mm.
well, I've had a pretty rough 3 months. The first week of all of this, my mom fell and broke her hip,
Oh gosh.
ended up having complications of the surgery. And so we didn't see her she was in the hospital for 2 months.
Oh
Um,
gosh.
we weren't able to see her. She lives a mile away from me. And she ended up in a COVID ICU unit. She did not have COVID, but they thought she did. And it was in the
Oh my
early
gosh.
stages where the hospitals were overwhelmed. So we didn't have any contact with her for a few weeks because the hospitals were seriously that overwhelmed.
Even phone? You couldn't even talk to her on the phone?
She wasn't able to, and we
Oh,
didn't have staff that could help because she
right.
really went in during the heart of the storm. And then
Gosh.
eventually she made it through. She got out. She's home now. But that and transitioning our entire practice to telehealth,
Right.
you
Oh,
know,
that's great.
we did
Yeah.
it within 24 hours. So we had no discontinuation of care at all for all of the hundreds of people in our family practice. But it's been a struggle for me personally, and I realized like how much grit and resilience I have. So,
Right.
made it through. But like I said in the beginning, I feel like I'm now on the other side of that, and things are
Good.
starting to stabilize. So
Great.
it's been better.
Oh, I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah.
I see all these commercials on TV right now, ads about mental health and, call this number. And do you think that the world is becoming more accepting of mental health issues? And
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, even in the course of my 25 years, I've seen a trajectory of more acceptance and more awareness. And I think this is just going to jumpstart that even more. It's kind of catapulting it into, now, you start to see, now I don't really watch the news that much, but
yeah,
not to, but you start to see more ads and public service announcements and more media attention of the mental health effects of the pandemic. And I think that's highlighting access to mental health care overall. So I'm feeling excited about that because hopefully more people will reach out for help when they need it. And
not wait.
exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Dr. Pam McCaskill, thank you so much for being with us today. And I will make sure that all your information is on this so that if people want to get a hold of you, they can do that. So stay safe, my friend. And I can't wait till we can have coffee in real life.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. I adore you.
I adore
Stay
you
strong.
too.
Keep going.
Okay.
We'll
Thank you.
All right. Take care.